Brodie, last night on Hot Stove, we were talking about some of the positional versatility of your guys. When you look at Jeff McNeil, I know you see that he can primarily play third base on this current roster construction, but do you feel like he has one position that is superior to the others that he plays?
Well, I think that's the benefit of Jeff. We saw him play at least average at multiple positions last year, and we were surprised at how quickly he took to the outfield. His ability to move to multiple positions in the same game was impressive, and I think that he came up as a natural second baseman. We think he can be an above-average second baseman there. We think he'd be above-average third baseman, and he's already shown that he's an average outfielder, so it leaves a lot to look forward to.
In your mind, even though you've talked about him at third base then, given what you just said, do you feel like at his best he's just kind of one of those guys that is going to play every day, but you can plug in wherever you need?
I think it depends on what happens with the health of the rest of the roster. If Robbie Cano is healthy and playing every day at second base, then I think we'll see Jeff play more of his time at third base. If our outfield situation is currently as constructed, everyone's healthy and producing, then we'll probably see Jeff play again more in the infield. But the beauty is that, as we've seen, you never know what's going to happen. If you have people that can play multiple positions, you're in a better position.
Do you view Robinson Cano at this point in his career as an everyday player, or is he someone that is going to need to manage some of the health issues that he had last year by taking 1-2 days off per week?
Yeah, no, I definitely view him as an everyday player, and I think he's a high-impact player. Now, of course, players need days off, and as they age, you want to make sure you're protecting them. But Robbie is we would define him as an everyday player, absolutely.
J.D. Davis, yesterday you said he's a guy that you want to find over 500 plate appearances for. When you look at how that could break down, who is that at the expense of? Where is he getting those 500 plate appearances?
Well, again, it depends on the health of the other players, and it depends on how the roster is currently constructed. But I think between left field and third base, those are the two positions we'd most likely see him playing on the majority of his innings.
One of the guys that hasn't been brought up at all in any of these talks so far and seems to fly under the radar at times is Michael Conforto. At the end of the year, his statistics are always pretty much right there, but there always seems to be this tantalizing bit more that people reach for and talk about with him. Do you feel like there's another level that Conforto can get to?
I think every player has a chance to improve upon where they were a previous year, but Michael's been an all-star. He's had, I think, 3 or 4 straight seasons of 27 or more home runs. He's an elite, consistent star in this game. He plays a quality right field, has the ability to play to center, and it's hard to ask more from what Michael Conforto has been, but I think his makeup and his leadership will allow him to continue to get better.
Is there an area that you feel like he can get better at? Is there one thing that you point to? Obviously, like I said, the numbers are there, but we've seen him go through stretches where he seems relatively lost before turning it on and going on an absolute tear the other way. It seems like he's got more peaks and valleys, and he's talked about finding consistency. Is there one area that you have looked at and said, okay, I think he can improve here to get to that level?
Well, I don't think he's ever lost. I think sometimes he can get very hot and he can put a team on his back and carry a team for stretches of times when he's locked in. But I think you talked about the word consistency. The most significant area of improvement for Michael, and I think for any young player, is learning themselves and understanding their approach, being able to set pitchers up for what you're trying to accomplish, and then take advantage of their mistakes on a more consistent basis. And I think Carlos will be a big help in addition to Chili Davis when Michael has that evolution.
We've seen Ahmed Rosario trend upwards for the last couple of years. The second half last season really blossomed. When you look at Rosario specifically, why do you think it all clicked into place there in that second half?
I think it was hard work. I think Gary DiSarcina on our staff spent a lot of time with Rosie. I think Robinson Cano is a huge influence on him. And I think it's being able to communicate with the player honestly about where his areas of improvements are makes an impact. And Rosie did the work. In doing so, he made real progress.
Do you think that the defensive improvements led to more comfort at the plate?
I think that he's always been a player that's gotten better as time's gone on. I think we saw that last year, the second half of the year in 2018. He made improvements. He picked up the pace here, and as a young player at 24 years old, he's a very good offensive player that has the potential to be more. But I think defensively, it's the hard work that paid off, and he got more confident. And the April swoon was difficult, but he was very good the rest of the way. Where does
he best fit in your lineup?
Well, I think it depends on whether a right-handed pitcher is throwing or left-handed pitcher, but I think if we're as good as we can be offensively, he's probably a bottom third of the order.
Finally, Brodie, last year at this time, so much of the talk was about a potential Jacob deGrom extension. As you look at some of these young players that you feel are core pieces, Are there thoughts about extending some of the younger guys, some of the position players, a Michael Conforto perhaps, or maybe even one of the pitchers?
I think at this point we are looking to try to improve our roster for this year. We haven't looked too significantly yet about what the future will be, because I think there's plenty of time to do that. A lot of the extension talks sometimes will take place after the arbitration season and into spring training, but at this point we're focused on trying to add the right players and then figure out what the long-term payroll situation looks like.
Brodie, appreciate the time.
Thanks, Steve. Bye-bye.